Hello, everyone. I'm Mr. Joseph Pizzo. I teach in the United States of America. My full-time job is at the Black River Middle School in Chester, New Jersey. I have been at the Black River Middle School for 46 years, and I'll begin my 47th year on November 3rd. I also teach at Centenary University. In the past, I have taught at the College of St. Elizabeth and Union County College. Oh, and I teach at the Edison U. Wynn Learning Center on weekends and do some tutoring sometimes during the week. I'm very excited today to be able to read to you on International Literacy Day. The story I've chosen is a story by a famous American author, Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway has a reputation of being what's called a minimalist. He doesn't use a lot of description in his stories. He uses more nouns rather than adjectives and adverbs. And he uses a very simple style to get his point across. The stories that he tells, whether they're short stories, whether they're novels, are usually based on things that have happened in his own life. And in this particular case, the story A Day's Wait is based on something that happened when he was living with his family in France and his young son was there. Now, the story is based on a little bit of a misunderstanding, but I don't want to tell you too much because I want you to be able to follow along with the story. Now, I'm going to share the screen on this Zoom video so you can see the text as I read. Please follow along with me and don't read ahead because when you do, you might get confused. And that's not going to help you understand the story. So if you follow with me line by line and listen to it and see it, you're actually using what teachers call two modalities, two ways to process that material. And you're going to find that you'll understand it better. So let's get right onto the story. I'm going to share the screen with you. Once again, the story is called A Day's Wait, and it's written by Ernest Hemingway. He came into the room to shut the windows while we were still in bed, and I saw he looked ill. Now, the narrator is the father, and he's talking about his young 9-year-old son, Schatz. He, Schatz, was shivering. His face was white, and he walked slowly as though it ached to move. What's the matter, Schatz? Oh, I've got a headache. Well, you better go back to bed. No, I'm all right. You go to bed. I'll see you when I'm dressed. But when I came downstairs, he was dressed, sitting by the fire, looking a very sick and miserable boy of 9 years. When I put my hand on his forehead, ooh, I knew he had a fever. Parents check their children for fever by touching their foreheads. And they do that because the forehead becomes hot, hotter than it usually is. And that's when a parent or a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle or a caregiver will know there's a problem. Let's continue on. You go up to bed, I said. You're sick. Oh, I'm all right, he said. When the doctor came, he took the boy's temperature. What is it? I asked him. 102. And that was the doctor replying to the dad's question. Downstairs, the doctor left 3 different medicines in different colored capsules with instructions for giving them. One was to bring down the fever. Another was a purgative. Now, this second one that's a purgative is designed to remove the toxins from the body, to kind of flush out the body. The third, to overcome an acid condition. The germs of influenza can only exist in an acid condition, he explained, and he is the doctor. He seemed to know all about influenza and said there was nothing to worry about if the fever did not go above 104 degrees. There was a light epidemic of flu, and there was no danger if you avoided pneumonia. Back in the room, I wrote the boy's temperature down and made a note of the time to give the various capsules. Do you want me to read to you? All right. If you want to, said the boy. His face was very white and there were dark areas under his eyes. He lay still in the bed and seemed very detached from what was going on. This poor young man is feeling terrible. And he just seems to be not really processing what's going on around him. I read aloud from Howard Pyle's Book of Pirates. This is a book all about pirates, and it's Schatz's absolute favorite book. But as the dad said, but I could see he was not following what I was reading. How do you feel, Schatz? I asked him. Just the same so far, he said. I sat at the foot of the bed and read to myself while I waited for it to be time to give another capsule. It would have been natural for him to go to sleep. But when I looked up, he was looking at the foot of the bed, looking very strangely. Why don't you try to go to sleep? I'll wake you up for the medicine. I'd rather stay awake. After a while, he said to me, you don't have to stay in here with me, Papa, if it, bothers you. Oh, it doesn't bother me. No. I mean, you don't have to stay if it's going to, bother you. Huh. I thought perhaps he was a little lightheaded, and after giving him the prescribed capsules at 11 o'clock, I went out for a while. Now the dad takes the dog and goes quail hunting. Quail is a type of bird, small partridge. And he's in New England, which is in the northeast part of the United States. And in that section of the United States, it's very cold. It's wintry weather at the time. There's ice on the ground. And in real life, Hemingway liked to hunt and fish. So he's out hunting. It was a bright, cold day. Now, here is the most description that you will see in anything in this entire story that Hemingway has done. It was a bright, cold day. The ground covered with a sleet. Sleet's like frozen rain, very slippery, that had frozen so that it seemed as if all the bare trees with no leaves, The bushes, the cut brush, and all the grass and the bare ground had been varnished with ice. I took the young Irish setter for a little walk up the road and along a frozen creek. Irish setter is a type of dog used for hunting, about a medium-sized dog. At the house, they said the boy had refused to let anyone come into the room. You can't come in, he said. You mustn't get what I have. I went up to him and found him in exactly the position I had left him, white-faced, meaning pale, but with the tops of his cheeks flushed by the fever, staring still as he had stared at the foot of his bed. So think, what's going on? Why is this young man sitting at the edge of his bed the whole time, the whole morning, and dad goes out and hunts and comes back later, and he finds the boy still in the same place, and the people in the house are saying that he won't let anyone come into the room. And he keeps saying, you mustn't get what I have. And the dad was wondering, you have 102 fever. And the doctor told me outside that if it reaches 104, goes over 104, then you're in trouble. But 102.4, you should be fine. You'll just be ill for a while. But Schatz is very upset. Why do you think he's very upset? Let's find out. I took his temperature. What is it? Something like 100, I said. It was 102 and 4/10. It was 102, he said. Now the dad didn't show him the thermometer. So how would he know? Unless maybe, let's find out. Who said so? The doctor? Your temperature is all right, I said. It's nothing to worry about. I don't worry, he said. But I can't keep from, thinking. Don't think, I said. Just take it easy. I'm taking it easy, he said, and looked worried about something. Here, take this with water. Have you figured out why he's worried? What would make him so upset? Let's find out. Do you think it will do any good? Oh, of course it will. I sat down and opened the pirate book and commenced to read. Commenced means began to read again. But I could see he was not following. So I stopped. About what time do you think, What, you think I'm going to die? He asked. What? Yeah, about how long will it be before I, die? You aren't going to die? What's the matter with you? Oh, yes, I am. I heard him say 102. People don't die with a fever of 102. Now, that's a silly way to talk. Have you figured it out yet? I know they do. At school in France, the boys told me you can't live with 44 degrees. Oh, I've got 102. He had been waiting all day to die. Ever since 9 o'clock in the morning. You poor Shots, I said. Poor old Shots. It's like miles and kilometers. You aren't going to die. That's a different thermometer. And I'm sorry for the misspelling here, but this is from an online document. That's a different thermometer. On that thermometer, 37 is normal. On this kind, it's 98. Are you sure? Absolutely, I said. It's like miles and kilometers, like how many kilometers we make when we do 70 miles in the car? Oh, he said. But his gaze at the foot of the bed relaxed slowly. The hold over himself relaxed too. Finally. And the next day it was very slack. And he cried very easily at little things that were of no importance. So the big mistake that Shots made was that in France, Celsius is used to measure temperature, as it is through most of the rest of the world, except for the United States. In the United States, we still use Fahrenheit. Shots didn't know the difference. And that upset him so much because he thought he was going to die. Now, that may sound silly. And you may be thinking, oh, how could anyone make such a silly mistake? Honestly, we all make silly mistakes. Every single one of us has made silly mistakes, no matter what our age happens to be. And we're going to make silly mistakes in the future. And there's no remedy. There's no cure. We can't take pills as Shots took to get rid of his fever to try to cure us from making silly mistakes. But we can do something. We can practice giving comfort to people when they're hurting. We can give comfort to people when they're in need of comfort. When they've made a mistake, rather than laughing at them, we can tell them that we understand. And we've made some silly mistakes too in our lives. So don't worry about it. It's okay. We all make mistakes. And you'll find that you will be a lot happier. The person whom you've comforted may end up being a very good friend in the future. I'm going to stop the share now. And I want to tell you that I hope you talk about this story a little bit more with your friends and maybe with your classmates. I hope that someday maybe you can make a video, maybe share your favorite story and send it to me, and I'll share it with my classes. And if you like this story, I can send more stories. I can record them for you and have you listen to them. Please remember the lesson for today. No matter what country we live in, no matter how close or far away we happen to be, no matter what the barriers between us seem to be, we're all human beings. We all have very similar needs. We all make mistakes, and we all need to be comforted when we make those mistakes. And as you're going to celebrate today, and you are celebrating today, the need to read on International Literacy Day and every day, remember that the American author Stephen King tells everyone who wants to be a good writer that if you wish to be a good writer, you have to do something else first. You have to be a good reader. So I'll leave you with those words. Wish you a wonderful International Literacy Day and hope that you keep reading, and maybe you'll even share some of what you read with me. Have a wonderful day.